Hello. I'm Candace. I am 35, and I was born into Jehovah's Witnesses, and I am shunned.
All right. So then as a born-in Candace, do you know kind of the origin story of the witnesses in your family? How far back does this go?
Yeah, I do. So there's actually two chains that go into this, and some have a backstory. My mother encountered Jehovah's Witnesses. She definitely had one of those 70s upbringings and saw some of the Christian kids and their behavior and nothing really making sense. And ironically, what turned her off to Jehovah's Witnesses, I just kind of made this connection, was because the girl that had witnessed to her in school got disfellowshipped.
Oh, wow.
And that was shunned. And that girl stopped talking to my mom, and my mom said, man, they're like all the rest of them. So, plot twist for the later end there. But she had done nothing more with it, right? And then life paused for her. On my dad's side, though, his father, my grandfather, later became an elder, but their family had encountered it probably when my dad was a baby. And then he had that on and off in his childhood association around Jehovah's Witnesses. But by the time they had taken it seriously, my dad was a teenager. Both had these exposures to it. But fast forward to the newlyweds living in the apartment, finding trouble, and a great couple knock on their door. They were loved very much, and it's a small town.
Mm-hmm.
And they really genuinely were drawn to the good things. They genuinely were drawn to the good things. My mom was definitely the research it, and she was impressed by the 607 and the timeline and the facts, and that there was an answer to everything. So my mother became very devout through proof.
Right. The facts.
Yeah. And then I think on my dad's side, it was more so, well, my grandparents did it, and she's doing it. And it does talk about love a lot. So they picked up there. So as far as my brother and I, though, that was it. That's the world we knew.
Yeah, so that makes sense. A lot of times, I know you said that your parents were newlyweds, and when you're newlyweds, life isn't super easy. Here come these people into your door. They've got this great sounding message with all this promise, so it's easy to get sucked down that path.
And there's great people.
Yeah.
Organization, and where we were, they were great people. They would bring a meal and do kind things for those in the fold.
Yeah, well, of course, yes.
So it's there's blades to the sword, but ultimately I think that from where they were at, it felt like a good way, and with the traumas they had in their youth, I think that they really genuinely believed this would be a good way to raise their children.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's often a lot, if you look in the backgrounds, there's often in the story somewhere, there's some trauma.
Well, and if you look back in that era of the late 70s, man, they were like cults everywhere. And like everybody was joining something. Probably by standard, this seemed more normal and in line with a standard Christian faith, because they do still believe in Jesus and God, right?
Yeah.
And have things that make sense, and they have good values. But yeah, so that's, late 70s parents into it, and we were born and raised.
So did they come in then, I guess, after 75? When
yes.
The world was supposed to end? I would just oh, interesting.
After 75, yep, after 75.
So I didn't have to go through that.
Yes. They were in the rebirth period.
Yes. The 80s were a big time.
A new message.
Yes. So did being raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, how did it have you see the world around you?
It was terrifying. The world around me was terrifying. My childhood and my family and my grandparents and my school was probably the best childhood a kid could ask for. It was wonderful, surrounded with love and good things and great lessons. But what I was told about the world was, from birth, don't be unevenly, when you're studying Revelation and you're 4 years old, but you're right there with the grown-ups, and you're seeing the 4 horses of the apocalypse, and you're seeing a harlot sitting on a 7-headed, very well painted, though, watchtower. Good job. That was a goal at once, to be a painter at the watchtower. But honestly, I mean, that's terrifying. And so everything I thought of the world was just, don't touch it, don't talk to it. This is just big, scary, awful. But that was, I guess, again, one of those things that once you attend school, you start to meet people and they're not scary. And then you start this path of realization.
Mm-hmm. They're just people.
They're just people. But we're told they're satanic and they're lovers of evil and that they're gonna die at Armageddon. Frankly, we are told that. We are the truth. We are the life. We are the one true religion. We have to spread the word. But if those do not accept that message, if you use the frank words, only God knows, but now,
yeah,
make it.
Yeah.
So it was like this, and my dad, it was very much pity them. So I guess I was fearful and then just pitied. And then a few times you cruise into town to the big city and you do see things that look scary, that look like the magazine of a homeless person or these things. You just think, yes, it is scary. But yeah, of course, that transition to school work.
Yeah, it definitely, you finally get exposure. When you're isolated, it's easy to think that everything is bad and to believe anything that you're told. But it's when you start.
Exactly, you're isolated. And when you're born into it, you do not know another way. You think your parent, you believe every word they say.
Yeah, if they told you the sky was red, you'd believe it.
I believed everything I was told from the platform of the kingdom. I believed every single word of it.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about your life, at home, and in Kingdom Hall was pretty nice. So what was, let's go into your house for a minute. What was life like growing up for you as one of Jehovah's Witnesses at home, and kind of include, were you all the family that, had all the family studies and went out in field service all the time? And
oh gosh. Okay. So those were harsh realities. So number one, and you don't make all the connections till you're older, obviously. But number one, we were the poor family, which meant we didn't make contributions. So we were not favored. That was a for sure. We lived in apartments. I felt that. I knew that I was just a step above that. I felt that. That was tangible. And then in our situation, my dad had a factory job and worked second shift. So bam, you were pretty much marked, because if he was good enough and best enough, he would have just quit that, right? And let God find him a first shift job. Right. And then because you're a child and you hear these things, right? Those stories, and then you see your father and your family, I had like a judgment put in me because I was told I knew one thing and then I didn't. And then, you know what I mean? It messes with you.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Absolutely.
It wasn't doing. And I think I passed judgment on my father because of like what I was told.
Yeah.
So yeah, a judgmental kid, I guess, a little kind of thinking, because I'm told like, no, this is this. So my whole thing was, I'm going to grow up to pioneer and I'm going to do better than this, because that's why our life is like this, is because they're not doing it right. If you do it right, then life will be great. So I'm going to marry a servant or elder, and I will pioneer, and I will have 2 children, and I will have a modest home, and I will wait until the paradise, and my life will be great.
Yes.
I had those things. But as far as my family, it really was no, they had learned from their life trials. And so there was no screaming and maliciousness from my parents. It was always very kind and do the loving thing. And my mom didn't force God down us, right? It was still, this is what it is. But she encouraged us to research. So I was a very smart little Jehovah's Witness. I mean, I knew all the scriptures, could quote everything. I mean, I was setting up my life to be a little pioneer, for sure.
Yeah. And as such, you're going to be a judgmental little Jehovah's Witness. Like,
oh my God, yeah, because
I was too.
Smart, so I understood everything.
Yeah,
so I knew exactly what the Bible was saying about this, and I knew it was right and wrong. And I just, hypocrisy was not easy to see.
Right.
At all.
No, not at all. Now you mentioned school a little bit, and seeing that the kids weren't exactly what they were portrayed as, but what was your life like at school? How were you?
Man, well, if you had another Jehovah's Witness in your class, it sucked. because you knew you had to behave a certain way.
Yeah.
But for the years when I didn't, it was almost a very guilty exploration. And, it's very much put into us to make it your territory, make it your territory. So, and everybody knew I was the only one. And I was the only one not pledging allegiance. And I'm the only one not getting candy. And I'm the only one not going to the birthday party. And I'm the one sitting outside while everybody else gets a Valentine's card. I mean, it sucks. Jehovah's Witness kid. It is not fun. But then I found the few weird friends, and this may be a tearjerker one, because it's the start. Those few weird friends, and we talk about, God, what was it called? Inspector Gadget, and then with Gidget and the mouse. Rescuers?
Oh, Rescue Rangers or
Rangers, the Rescue Rangers.
Yeah,
the Rescue Ranger, right?
Yeah.
So that was my first posse of no other Jehovah's Witness kids. I'm the only student now in my grade, and I found these weird friends, and we bonded over cartoons.
Yeah.
And one became my best friend, and through junior high, she got me my first Christmas present, which was like a sin, and it was like unwrapped, and she's like, I'm giving to you this, we'll tell no one. And it was a bunny with angel wings. And of course, that's an idol.
Yes.
It's my first present, so I legit cut the wings off of it to make it just look like a bunny, and then hid it and told no one, and just had guilt over my first Christmas present from my one friend. But my mom was liberal in that she did let me go visit that person's house. That was a big, and I wasn't baptized, but my mom they were pretty, they did want us to figure it out. I think they hoped we'd figure it out the way they did. But frankly, that was exposure to a different family. And wow, her parents are really nice, and home's nice, and man, I'm not seeing Satan heads, and completely changes your view of what you'd been told. So then you begin doubting. And it's through those friendships that were the first doubt. But that friend who, of course, we're connected on Facebook and we have our lives now, but that friend was probably the first witness to me of good people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's heart-wrenching. All kids want to be accepted. All kids want friends. And when you're a witness kid, here you are. Some cults isolate their members completely. They may even live in a compound.
Yeah.
But when you have to go live with the people,
and you're told to not be yoked with them.
Yes.
It's like this brain. We're going to call it a brain fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like yeah, there's a meme or something you see on social media, and it's a person walking around and they've got a cage over their head, and it's you can just take that off and be free.
But you don't feel you're locked in, and you're too afraid to take it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to stay in that cage because you see out there what's scary. You want to stay in this barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. It's comfort.
In the pill, you don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
Right.
Because they terrify you of it.
Absolutely. So
first exposure was those in school, but and the other thing is I was very smart, and that's forbidden, and a woman doesn't need that anyway.
Sure.
And I had some teachers that were really great and that really encouraged me, and my mom did let me go on the Scholastic Bowl team. So even that was pretty, right? But it was well, it's not sports, so it's not completely devil worship. It's not, fornicative, adulterative cheerleading. So we'll let you be in the Scholastic Bowl. But yet again, it gave me education. And then I'm wow, what? There is more than this world? But again, it was pressure and guilt. And I still remember when I decided to homeschool, it was about to go into high school. And I'd had a great pep talk from a teacher about I'd done very well on certain scores. And they were very optimistic about my assessments in high school, and let's get you on this academic path. And I remember, and my papa, who was not Jehovah's Witness, my mother's side, had told me he would pay for college for me. Because of course my parents couldn't, right? He'd do it. He'd pay for all of it. And I could pay him back, but even if I didn't, he wanted to do that for me. And I had everything like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to work toward it. I'm going to go to college. And the guilt and Satan's coming to me, Candace, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And closed it all out and said, all right, I'm homeschooling, and graduated at 15 and a half and worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
But at least you graduated homeschooling. A lot of times it doesn't go that way, and it's because
I took it seriously. I loved it. I loved education.
Yeah.
And that was a door to slam. That was hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had enjoyed it, but the temptation, you know.
So let me ask first, how is it growing up for you in the Kingdom Hall? Obviously, you're a sister, so you can't have privileges, but you can.
Well, okay. So being the poor family, I had the sewn clothes, and I don't know how to do makeup, and I was pudgy and not just right. I was not the favored of the Jehovah's Witnesses, but I was funny, and I knew how to have fun, and I was one of the few that was allowed to watch Power Rangers and Smurfs.
Ooh.
Basically, I think I might have sort of been the kind of bad kid.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Like the bad kid to them.
Yeah.
And I use that for association. But in my heart, I was like, I believed everything. You know.
Well, and everyone in the free world knows that people who watch the Power Rangers and Smurfs are the worst people on earth. I mean,
and it's like, you can come to my house, and it's all like, because, you know, the rules are, but I found that's with everything, apparently, even in this world. People have these rules, right?
Sure.
How they behave and how they don't behave. But yeah, I was the kid that if you did come to my house, like, one, my mom's an amazing cook. Two, we're totally allowed to go eat on the sidewalk because she was fun like that, right? Fun parent. I had the fun house. And we're in apartments and we can walk down the railroad track and go check out ice cream. Like, and then I'll totally show you sick moves by the White Ranger. And then they're like, what? The white one? And I'm like, you don't even know because you don't watch. Bad JW. But really, you do always want to be accepted. And
sure.
Could do was make great comments. And I could be the brave one that would go ahead and knock. And if they did need a little volunteer to prayer, I could do it. And I could say yes.
Yeah.
I tried.
I just noticed you're drinking out of a panda cup, a panda mug.
Yeah.
That's amazing, since I have the little pandas I give away for people who donate to the show.
That's so ironic. No.
Yeah, the Panda Paradise we were promised.
My nickname, the Ride the Pandas. Yeah, my nickname was Candace Panda. And this was a gift from my Jehovah's Witness. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I should have panda mugs too.
It's probably, Tag, TAG. They're dishwasher
awesome.
safe.
That's awesome. So that, it is funny though, what it is that will set you apart as a witness kid. And it can just be, in the congregation, if you happen to be just naturally a little extroverted, or you're just a people pleaser or whatever, and you can raise that hand and make a comment. Oh, people look at you a certain
And I knew how to research. I was smart, man. I was like 6 years old. I was that little kid that's like, I researched in the 1978 Jehovah's Witness manual of how to be.
So you could put it in your own words and everything. You weren't just like Jehovah,
Oh no, yeah. I was the volunteer talk.
Yeah.
Someone's sick, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The personality will take you as far as a sister can go.
But not too high, sister. Back down.
Yeah.
None of your own thoughts.
Yeah.
So share that one. That's a good one. My own thought came about at 10.
Uh-oh.
And it was when they had done a Bible reading, Old Testament, and it's the account where one of the soldiers went to grab the Ark of the Covenant when they were stumbling, right? The priests were stumbling. And as every good Jehovah's Witness knows, no soldier or anybody is to touch that Ark of the Covenant, in the tabernacle and all that stuff. But then God struck him dead. And I remember going to the elders and saying, I don't understand this. So the priests are walking, they fall on some rocks, the soldier reacts so that the tabernacle doesn't fall, and God kills him. And they're like, don't question it. God knew his heart. And I'm like, I don't, what?
That one always got me too. I was like,
Yeah.
how can you kill him? And I think they had some reasoning around, like, you know, like you said, God knows his heart. And so I guess he had wicked motivation, or he was, you know, seeking to be prominent.
Yeah, he wanted to be
saved
promoted. Like, he wanted everyone to know that he did that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big stretch.
Yeah. But I was 10, so I think it was immediately, like, just, I was always marked.
Yeah.
Like, socially, who I was, how I was, what I said, even me saying it all good. That's not good for the bad kid to be like that, right? Just
yeah, if you, you're
too funny.
Yeah. Yeah. If they can't stand to see someone else express something that they've probably thought themselves, but here you are, a smart little kid bringing it up, and they've worked their whole life to push that stuff down, so they can't listen to you.
And again, and my mom was, I give them, my parents, very much respect. They really didn't want to be the forcing it down. They really wanted us to make it our own. They believed that. But teen years, holy cow, teen years. What's the book called? Young People Ask. Oh my God. You're dating with a view to marriage.
Yes.
At 18, because that is your life. So you will look at every boy, and if you have a feeling, it is marriage material questioning time.
Yes.
Right?
That, and don't masturbate.
No, nope. And your hormones, your vessel, you better keep that vessel clean.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just this oppressive, oh my gosh. And I'm a parent, you know, and it's kind of like, oh my God, you're not even letting them grow as individuals. You're not even letting them learn to express themselves, like it coming out of it, seeing in, you're like, oh gosh, that's so unhealthy. That's so unhealthy. Not let your child, who is going to become an individual person, develop their personal sexual identity. I ended up writing a college paper on it. I really did. I wrote one on, and I was good. I did full on wait sex before marriage with tons of dabbling inappropriately and confessing all the time.
Of course.
About it. Yeah. I actually did get disfellowshipped at 18. So I went through it. Yeah, it was awful. And I think that's why henceforth, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
But it's what you said. It's not just, it's not that they don't let the kids grow. They even shame them for growing. So you're a bad person for growing. You're
bad if you have that thought. You're bad if you get a boner.
Oh, yeah.
You hide that thing. You nasty thing, you.
Yeah, that is shame.
That definitely was very stunted for my ex and I both when we got married. I mean, man, talk about two JWs like figuring it out. Like, oh
yeah. I think a lot of people were there at some point. You know, people didn't know anything. You don't know what you don't know. It's yeah.
But again, that to me, that pubescent stage, whatever. And again, you want to get them baptized before that hits, right? You want to get them baptized before that hits. So I want to say I was 13.
That's when you got baptized?
I was 14. Yeah, 14 when I finally did it.
So what was it for you that led you to get baptized? Was it a genuine feeling of some spiritual connection? Was it peer pressure? What was it for you?
I always did feel a connection to God, to Jehovah. I felt it. I felt it. And maybe that's because it was from birth and I was tapping into the spirit. You know, maybe I was really genuinely tapping into things. But I don't know.
I mean, it's one of those things where you start seeing other people do it. There's a lot of pressure. You can justify in your mind.
No, if I'm totally true. Okay. It is because I wanted out of, by that time, my judgmentalness, right? 14. And then the divide. And now I really see all the differences and I see what I want to be. And now I am friends with the cool friends and I do have some new clothes. And man, I want to leave that behind. So now I'm really judgmenting all of this love and wonderfulness. And I knew to get to Z, it started with A. Because if you want to be the liked one, the good one, the promoted one, the pioneer one, the one with the great ministerial service jobs, because if I did all that, I would finally be out of some of the bad, right? The poverty and that sort of stuff. That's my way to happiness and my way out. Mm-hmm. And anytime there were problems, I never blamed it on anything of my parents' mental well-being. It was always like, well, it's because they're not doing God right. Mm-hmm. Right? Life sucks. You're not going to meetings. Life isn't good. Pray more. So 14, it was a very changing, but I think it was honestly my moment to say, I'm done. Like with that pretending and I'm going to get baptized and I'm going to do this right.
Yeah.
Be the good one.
Yeah.
And then, then hormones hit and then you're like, oh God, I don't understand anything. And associations. And then like the bad Jehovah's Witness kids worse than me. And they're really fun. Yeah. I question constantly.
So when you questioned, there's the concept of cognitive dissonance for you. When you questioned, did you shut those questions down and say, well, the rest of it's true. So this is probably just me and I'll just, let that go. Or did you continue to be able to hold both?
No, I did full on stop think, man. Full on stop think. That is satanic apostate thinking. I stopped that thought, man. I did not tamper with it. I did not read anything inappropriate. Nope. Man, I did good. It was really more just people. When I interacted with coworkers now, and they're fun and they're nice and I feel and I like it and I don't get it. That was what would move me. But I never questioned doctrine.
Yes.
Because I'd have fun with these worldlies, it just meant that I was bad. And that was just further, God, it was always my fault. Like I was bad. I was a bad Jehovah's Witness. And I couldn't stop being bad.
Mm-hmm. And a bad person.
And just a bad person. Yeah, I'm just bad.
That's who you are.
Yeah, because I can't stay in line. Yeah. But I never questioned the doctrine. It was the truth. And I was just bad for not following it.
Yeah. I always felt that too, as far as the doctrine. I believed it was the truth. I was a very word literal person. The fact that they even called it the truth, I'm sure played a role into that. And yeah, why question the doctrine?
Cult Mind Control book. Have you read the Cult Mind Control?
Oh, you're talking about Steve Hassan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read the book. I know about it.
But, stop thinking. And that's exactly what it talks about is like, oh, no, that's part of mind control method is some of those things.
Yeah, they're thought-stopping techniques. Absolutely.
And to call it the truth so you never doubt it otherwise.
Yes. Yeah, it's
very interesting. It is a very good read for unprogramming some of the stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that was me, I guess, I was always fun and funny and loved. But I had some worldly family but I always took it as I'm just bad and don't love God enough. I'm just wanting Satan, apparently. I'm a Satan lover. Mm-hmm. And it was just, that was it. That was my life.
Yeah, I understand.
Up until, and then jobs and work and constant conflict of quit liking these people. They're bad, but they're really nice and fun and it seems okay. And just that conflict until finally getting disfellowshipped. All right, I don't want to go through this again. And then 19 and okay, where's the good ministerial servant? That one.
So let's talk about that. So leading up to, I think you said you were disfellowshipped at 18, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so what was life like between baptism and then? I know that you were starting to see the difference in people, but were you the kid that pioneered?
Oh, I was pioneering. Yep. I was doing a total double lifer.
Yeah.
I was because I believed it. So I was pioneering and man, I was genuine. And there are people that I still remember their names from my call book that I genuinely liked going to talk to and bring comfort and just brighten their day. And I really did love those things. I did. And I loved the congregation. I loved the people and euchre and card parties. I did. And I loved
in Indiana, it's euchre everywhere.
everywhere. But I loved the socializing and coming together and just all of that. I really did love that part. And I was accepted because I was the pioneer and I was doing good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, socially, when I'm exploring these other friends and other city congregation kids, and I mean, it was just like, I'm awful. So very troubling. But yeah, 18, I'd fallen and okay, I'm going to confess. My brother had been baptized. So he was like, you should do it. Confess, clean up, Candace, because he had his own journey, right?
Sure.
He did it later. And then I'm like, oh, bro. And he's like, yeah, you should just clean slate, over it. And then, yeah, they just fellowship me.
So what was that like? What was that process like? So you're an 18-year-old female going into a judicial committee of 3 men, and I assume having to tell them things.
Well, I'd already done that like 5 times.
Oh, okay.
But not bad. I never went, it was little, but I'd confess kissing, right? That's, yeah. I mean, holding hands, dude.
Oh, I know.
If you touch that thing through clothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'd already done that, but yeah, that's awful. And it's creepy. And the questions are creepy.
Yeah.
Feel really disgusting. And you feel like they like it, and it's weird. It's awful.
Yeah. And so absolutely. And that's what I've always heard. So what was it like then when the moment came?
Oh,
they disfellowshipped you. What was that?
And you got to think I'm still devout. Like, I'm very devout. And this was supposed to be my last time. And I'm older and like, I'm going to whatever. I don't even know. And I guess, honestly, I knew some friends that did worse things. So it was kind of, no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. They did this. But guess what? They were an elder's kid.
Yep.
And I wasn't. So I collapsed. And I started to get sick, and I went and puked in the toilet. It was the worst feeling ever because I didn't want it then.
Yeah.
It was devastating.
Yeah. It's one moment where everything is destroyed.
Yep. So it was a whole year for my terrible sin, frankly, which is, again, I remember thinking later, like, this is totally because I was an outsider. I was a bad kid. But
May I ask you, you said that it was a year that you were out. Something I always like to ask people is, so you were out for a year. What is it? Do the elders contact you during that year and say, hey, we're noticing that you're making progress? Like, are they trying to help you, or are you just alone for that year?
So mine was awful. But I mean, I just wanted back. That's all I wanted back. Like, the whole point of me talking was that I wanted back. And so I went to every meeting, sat in the front row, sang as loud as I could. Like, I did not want it. I had to send a letter to them, mm-hmm. telling where repentant I was. I sent one every month for 12 months, and they'd many times ignore me, not respond to me at all. I'd cry. And then finally they would respond. It'd be another meeting, and for them to tell me that I wasn't repentant and I didn't love God enough yet. And mm-hmm. keep going. So, it was torturous. It was a terrible year.
So the Holy Spirit just couldn't really hear those pleas, right?
Yeah. I think that year, that year was what literally, like, I think it kind of mentally just fucked me.
Oh, yeah.
And after the year, when I came back, it was like I cut off from my best friends. Because I'm like, I can't do this again. I can't be bad ever again. So I cut myself from all my best friends, found the servant, and was like, all right, I'm doing this. No more funny, Candace. No more goofing off. It was traumatizing that year.
What's it like being reinstated, sitting in the Kingdom Hall, and then that announcement is made? What's it like hearing that and then the reaction to it?
That's an emotional one. And you got to think, you're in a very different place when you want it.
Yeah.
When you want it.
Yeah.
So when they announce it, it feels like, God, you feel the Holy Spirit. You feel like finally I'm brothers and sisters, and then you're just surrounded by people.
Yeah. All of a sudden.
I love you, and you're like, I did the right thing. But it's just reinforcement. I mean,
yep.
To never, ever leave again.
Yes, absolutely.
The love, I mean, that's the other part. The love is real. I mean, from your people.
Yeah.
Creation. There are good people. And so many people I missed. that missed me. And I mean, I went and serviced that next Saturday and right away was playing card parties again. I mean, I missed everyone.
Yeah.
And they missed me. And it was different that time. Very different that time.
But you can really see the manipulation.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious.
Total mental abuse.
It's I think you called it earlier a mind fuck. It's absolutely what it is. I mean, that's what they do to you. And they make you want it more because of the psychological manipulation of shunning. That's what shunning is. It's nothing but psychological manipulation.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. But I came back and I did. I cut out people. I cut out I just followed the book. I did it by the book, by the freaking book, and took that all the way up to marriage. So full on pioneer, man, doing everything right, not talking to any of that. Totally changed who I hung out with, who my friends were. I changed completely who I was. The only person that called it out, my brother, when I told him I was dating who I was and hanging out with who I was, and he'd moved on by then, right? He's a witness, but he, life and he was on his journey, and he started laughing because he just knew that was so not me. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you're not joking? Like, what are you thinking? And we never talked about it again, but that was a big fall. I think that was a fallout. I think he knew what I was trying to do to just be good. But I think at the same time, it was sad because every moment he ever hung out with me after that, when I was in that relationship, I wasn't me anymore.
Yeah.
And it really was sad. Yeah.
You had put on the new personality.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah.
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 Think about that. When you think about that and how it's
I mean, it was, my mom later acknowledged, and this is talking after divorce of first Jehovah's Witness husband into life with new relationship, non-Jehovah's Witness. My mom acknowledged that I had not smiled like that ever the entire time I was with that other person. And it was like with your soul. And I'm like, why didn't you stop me? Like, why?
Because it's more important that you be a witness and that you do the right things. And
they believe the best partner you could have would be a good witness. Yeah.
So how was it being the pioneer wife of a ministerial servant in the congregation? How were you treated?
Man, you're God's. And we were like young, happy, fun. In Nod's there though, like, his life was different, right? But I did, by his encouragement, go to college. He did just go college. He had a little different stuff, right? A little different upbringing. We traveled. I got to go to Ireland, Belize, Chicago,
I like Ireland, Belize, Chicago.
Well, those were like the first three that popped in my mind. I guess. Maybe did I put Chicago with like another nation? Well, from where I was from, it was though. I'd never been to a big city.
I understand.
I mean, it was very expanding.
Yeah. That
relationship in my worldview on this side. We did that growing and exploring together.
Yeah.
That was amazing. But it also led to, right, thoughts. The more you see. Then education was big. That was because of him. I went to college. I remember crying when I realized kelp was an animal, or like kelp with the member and the animal and the plant, the proton and eating. And I remember just being like, how do I not know this? And it's a thing and a creature. And I remember feeling how dumb that I didn't know anything about our real world. I knew a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses in the Bible, but not our world.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that was more foundational things laid. But as far as us in Jehovah's Witnesses, we got to travel the congregations. And I always have loved helping people and being kind to people and brightening people's day. So honestly, it was great. I was a great servant wife, right?
Yeah.
I don't need the microphone. I'll go visit the elderly ones and the children. I like that part.
So how was it when that all started to dissolve? What is the change then in how people see you as that all starts to dissolve?
Okay, well, so we're riding the high horse. Life is great, right? But not. I'm bawling every other week. We're fighting every other week. The whole things of stuff with stuff because of stuff. Marriage, it's not right. And of course, when you go about it for the completely wrong reasons.
Sure.
Completely wrong reasons for both of us, right? So anyway, I mean, life is miserable. I'm seeing good people in this, but I'm not questioning. I'm just, this is going to be my life, and I'm going to continue to shove all of these feelings down. And it was him, the one that had been the first pioneer servant dude that brought up the question. And I sobbed. I was devastated that he had questioned the truth.
Do you remember what it was? Was there a specific thing, or do you care to?
By that point, he had had those secrets and feelings for years, and he'd never told me. So he actually had a lot, and it was a full-on. Do you think this is even it? It wasn't even like, here's one thing I'm going to tell you. I think it's all, and I was like, holy yeah, he's an apostate. Go call the elders. But he was my best friend, and so I didn't. And I thought I would set about disproving him in his whatever. And so the first one I looked up was hell, and just other interpretations of what it could have been or could be, and heaven and paradise. And frankly, that was really enough. That was enough. You got to think I was so literal and so factual, and I'd only seen truth, and I'd only tested truth. It only took one for me to go, well, fuck. And everything. My integrity. I have to go I have to question everything. This is true. He has cast shadow on doubt. I have to look into this. I have to. And then the next one he nudged my way was crisis of conscience. And I couldn't do it anymore.
So you read Ray Franz's book then?
Yep. And I could not do it anymore.
Isn't it interesting? I always thought that his book was going to be, this bitter, hateful apostate. And he's just this sweet, sincere dude who's trying to help people.
He's a seeker of truth.
Yeah.
When he faced his very first disappointment of truth and he was told to shut up, he said, I can't do it. And I thought, well, that's exactly how I feel. But it was harrowing. Again, with that came more knowledge, which ultimately led to us ending our marriage.
Sure.
We wrote the paperwork together for the divorce. It was the most amicable. We were friends, and my God, we had been through trauma together, and we both knew what these decisions would be.
Yeah.
And so by that point, I had told my mom, like, we'd stepped out, right? We're fading. He stepped down, which I think is very brave.
Mm-hmm.
Me stepping down and then just not, and then you're just ignoring phone calls and you're ignoring visits, and you just don't want to talk about it because you don't want to get disfellowshipped. You just don't want to talk about it. You want to fade. Right. Still family. We just want to fade. Just please leave us alone. We don't talk about why. Just let us go alone. But it really was, and this is skewed, right? I was always told people disfellowship were right lovers of Satan and bad and they're awful and that's what they are. Not the case at all. I genuinely found evidence that those beliefs were wrong, and I could not, with my integrity and ethics, deal with it anymore. I could not do it anymore.
And let's point out, this isn't something you sought out. And I, in my own case, I just started trying to get mentally and emotionally healthy after a life as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I wasn't looking for some other path, or I wasn't trying to take shots at Jehovah's Witnesses or destroy the doctrine. You just start seeing things, and you can swat away a few, but eventually I heard it described once like there's a shelf. And everybody has a shelf, and there's a point at which you stack all these things up on it, and everyone's shelf has a weight limit. And when that shelf breaks, you can't unsee the carnage. It's there, and you have to deal with it. Yeah. And so we're not some evil apostates that set out to, No,
and I'm not some lover of evil and badness at all.
I am, but okay.
Well, no, there are actually some bad things in this world. I'll tell you what, drunkenness is fun. No, it was, it was shocking. It was devastating. It was confusing. It was, we went through it together. It led us to be apart, but we went through it together, and man, was there a whole lot in all that. But,
oh, it's so much. I mean, even just the relational part. I mean, my wife and I, when we eventually disassociated and left, we had to have the discussion. Why are we together? are we sure that this is real too? Because you have to look at everything.
Everything's been programmed, yeah.
Yes.
So definitely that period of everything being looked at, everything being checked out, everything being this, everything being that. And then thankfully where I was at in my career and where I was, he and I had faded together. So again, that helped because I could have three people, I guess, that knew, because it's just so hard to open up, right? Like you're closeted. So you're trying to make these new friendships in this other world, and you're trying to make these connections, but you're still a weirdo that calls things different things. Mm-hmm. It's not get-togethers. Nobody calls it a get-together at all.
I still say that.
You're ex Jehovah's Witness things, right?
Yeah.
But I never wanted to be shunned. I wanted to stay in that. My mother was very frank and said, I've seen this happen with others, and as long as you don't get the official, I'll communicate. That was her black and white line. But ultimately, I made a post on Facebook actually talking about shunning, denouncing it for mental coercion, and asking about petitions. And of course, some Jehovah's Witness was still Facebook stalking me. So they turned me in, and I got the call. And at that point I said, I'm not coming in, and I'm going to disassociate, and I'm going to write a 5-page letter about all of the things I've discovered now. So my mom was there for my wedding with my husband, and she had met my stepdaughter and all those sorts of things. But when the official boot came, it was go time.
Gotcha. And I assume that's the same for all of your former friends and family?
Oh, no. They stopped associating the minute that we stopped. Yeah. No. Yeah, everybody. The last time I talked to my brother.
You're saying that they stopped when you started fading.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's true. They act like they don't, but they do, don't they?
They do. You're fading. We're keeping back. Yeah. But that, the worst though was my brother. And it was when I said I was getting a divorce, because obviously that's an end all.
Yeah.
We all know that's an end all. And I said, I am not going to marry a Jehovah's Witness again. I may not get married, but if I do, it will not be one. And I'm going to celebrate holidays, and I'm going to live my life. And he said, I never thought you'd turn to Satan like this. I can't believe you're such an idiot. And he walked out the door and never talked to me again. That was his departure. Even before, it was just when I said I was getting a divorce, he just cold turkey.
So when you disassociated, you didn't really have much left to lose, did you? I mean, maybe your mom, but
that was it.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the only one I gave a damn about. Well, and my brother, but I'd already lost him, but it was really, and I could still hear about him, right? But yeah, that was the one I held on to, and I only did it for her. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why you're on the podcast.
Because that's the, it's been almost 5 years since my mother shunned me. And again, she'd been at the wedding. She admitted she'd never seen me so happy. I have a beautiful picture of us. And she played with all of the children, my nieces and nephews and things. And it was great. But after that, it was a letter. She sent a letter on really pretty paper with deers and and handwritten, and simply that she loves me so much, but she loves God more. And that's the hard part is, my gosh, I wish I could say that my family was awful and that they were abusive and that they were mean and that it was ugly and that it was terrible, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but the conditional love in the end still is devastating.
God, devastating.
It is, and you.
And she is hardcore. There is no letters back. There is no talks back there.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm still crying about it. I try to compare it to death, but shunning is not like death. Not like death. With the most recent was my papa, and I grieved and I pained, and now I can so fondly talk about everything about him. But with shunning, it's not like that.
Right. Because
it's a choice, and they're still there, very much alive.
And I think that you need, I appreciate you saying it's a choice, and it's their choice. And Jehovah's Witnesses like to victim blame a lot and say, well, it was your choice to leave and blah, blah, blah. Yes. Shunning is an act. Shunning is something you do. Your mom shuns you. I saw my brother at a concert. My brother shunned me when I walked up and said hi. That's on him. That's on her. That's not on me.
Well, and I mean, and I guess the one thing is, and I, trying to explain it to someone who's never been in it. And I'm like, well, you've got to understand, when I drank the blue water too, I genuinely believe the scriptures that said, do not associate with one that calls themselves a brother that isn't. And I tried to argue with my mom. I get that, but I'm not trying to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore.
Yeah. Do you call yourself a brother?
I'm not calling myself a brother.
Me neither.
I'm done. I'm out. I'm done.
I'm Mike. That's all I am.
I'm trying to tell her that it doesn't apply to me. If you want to have that rule for ones that want to stay active, they have to behave that way. So you're going to practice that so they can be active again. Okay, but this is different. I'm disassociated. I don't want to be this. I don't want to talk about religion ever again. I just want you to be there for my daughter.
And let's also talk about scriptures that talk about, people who are fornicators or adulterers or idolaters or whatever, not even associating with such a person. Okay, so you fornicated once. So for the rest of your life, you're a fornicator? No, that's because it's all predicated on coming back. This is all about organizational policies. It's all about Jehovah's Witnesses. You have the example of the prodigal son in the Bible, and the guy's immediately accepted back. Here you were disfellowshipped every month, writing a letter saying that, how sorry you were.
Oh, yeah, it's
fell on deaf ears.
Well, in the history of it, right? The history, and that's, again, that book, and talking about how it wasn't always that way. And you could leave. You could leave. It was meant to only about keeping things clean. Whatever, okay? But then it got manipulated and twisted and turned and made into another reason to control and keep it go.
And it was Ray Franz, I believe, that was the first one. When they
policy change.
Absolutely, because you used to be able to disassociate, and you were fine.
You're fine.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh wait, those disassociated folks aren't sinning that want to come back. They're folks that know something and want them to share. So
and
relate that.
I will say that having to shun my own brother for 14 years or so. I mean, I didn't have to do his face. He had moved away. I didn't even know where he was, but that always bothered me. And that was actually something that was my first act of rebellion, was going to New York and seeing my brother. But after we had reconnected, but it was having to shun him that was the thing that pinged my mind the most, because it was like, God, this feels wrong. I just like, why am I doing this?
There were ones in my family that had that we shunned.
Yes.
Grandpa's side, some of them did. Yes, I had same thing. And I remember them coming and visiting, and then I remember the announcement. And again, judgmental kid though, frankly, younger kid. I said, fuck them, man, they sinned.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I was like that too. Yeah. Well, not with my brother, but with other people I was.
Yeah. Well, I reconnected later and we actually talked about what really happened. And a lot of journey to make that understanding, but it never is shunning. It is a mental, and my big issue too is I made the decision at 13.
Yes. Yes.
And there's children that get baptized at 8.
You're a kid playing with toys.
You do not know that you're about to sign your life over to a religion that you can never leave. That's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah, look at the...
And I even tried to explain that to my mom. I said, if you are a 33-year-old, as Jesus was when he was baptized, okay, you join whatever you want. You have mental capacity and experience to make that sort of dedication. But you are 8 and you were raised in it. And you were told no other options. There are no other options.
No.
The other option's Satan.
That's called undue influence.
So do you know what? Okay, another scripture I recall, Old Testament, God speaking, saying, I have put before you life and death, and you must choose life. All right. Okay.
I was going to choose death at 8.
That's how it felt. Okay. Yeah. I'm choosing life, and this is the word, and this is the law, and this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. And when you look at the baptism vows or whatever that you have to answer affirmatively to, in the Bible, it talks about being baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. But when you look at what you're agreeing to, you're agreeing, when they say Holy Spirit, it's God's Spirit, one and only Spirit-directed organization. You're making a deal with what was a publishing company and is now a real estate company. Yep. That's what you're making a deal with.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it is.
So now we're divorced. We're getting educated, going to college, learning things, expanding in the career. Then meet boy, right? And then just realizing just everything was so freaking backwards and so wrong. Just what a fun time is that, honestly, the discovery.
Yes.
But before, I still believe in God, and it's just really messy. And at this point, the disfellowship hasn't happened. I'm still in this in-between period. And I'm reading Crisis of Conscience, and I don't know if you have something that really did it for you, but mine was 607. Because my mom had been so adamant that is one of the things that proved to her that it was right. And I was doing research at colleges trying to find the end date of Jerusalem. I mean, I am going through all of this stuff no. That's a lie. How can that be a lie? That's the foundation. So I'm doing all this research, and I run outside to, my worldly boyfriend, now husband. And I go, 607, it's not real. None of it's real. It's not real. And he's like, 607? And I'm like, 607 BCE, the start of the ends of the times for the 10,000 and the 9,000 and Daniel and whatever. Right, we know all of it. And he's like, don't even. And I go, John, the point is, this was the foundation, and it's all wrong. It's all wrong. And that was hard. It was liberating, but I bawled in the bathtub, and I said my last prayer to Jehovah, and I sobbed. And I said, you've never done anything for me. You've never answered one prayer. And now I'm finding this. So for now, I'm saying goodbye, and I'm done, and I hate you. I kid you not, sobbing in the bathtub.
Yes.
But I needed to just completely say, I've got to walk away from all of this.
Yeah. And
go learn like a baby and not take anything for granted. So I have studied it all. Show me it all. I'll read it all. Let me see it all. Research it.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to research it.
Yeah. And what an opposite that is to the way we were brought up, which was research nothing or research only within the organization.
Research it within those brown books up there.
Yep, those brown books.
Rainbow here.
Even the books were boring colors at times. The Kingdom Halls were drab, and there just wasn't a lot of life in anything. So
oh man, now, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Different on the outside.
So so you have this story, right? And we've talked about this story, and we now know why you left. Yeah. Why do people who are in think you left? Do you know?
Because I wanted to marry a 6'3", ear-pierced, tattooed, hot motherfucker that, you know, I want the big D, I guess, right?
Yes. It is. It's like,
I think, yeah, like I divorced this and I went and married that like 2 years after. Yeah.
But it's funny. It always comes down to that. So I've wondered at times, like, well, I guess now if any of them know about my podcast, which I'm sure they do,
yeah.
You know, I'm just clearly mentally diseased and an apostate. But but before that, before I ever started doing anything like that, I always wondered, you know, because they would see my wife and I around. So they knew we were still together.
Just ultimately lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God.
Yeah.
And pleasure means Christmas, Halloween, holidays, drinking, eating, having fun, going out, watching movies, going to but even then, as long as you're pioneering, that's still okay. But but if we're doing it, absolutely not. So.
Well, I'll be honest, as far as, you know, the witness lifestyle or that concept, I'll put my life against any Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't even drink. And it's just alcoholism runs in my family. But like, I live a very clean life or whatever.
Clean life, yeah.
You know, but I celebrate holidays. I have evil worldly friends, and I don't sit by and watch organizations destroy people's lives without having something to say about it. You know,
this is me.
Yeah, I help people now. Whatever. I'm clearly pretty awful.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I'm happily married with a wonderful child I'm raising. I love to have folks come to our house and be generous of what we can give of our food and our home. And I really enjoy my career where I can help coach and mentor and guide so that folks that I oversee in the workplace can have a good life.
Yes.
Satanic.
Oh, clearly.
It's dirty yokes.
Clearly. So I usually like to talk at the end about what dreams do you have for yourself going forward? You're living a really good life. Do you have anything that you're looking forward to going forward? Yeah.
Well, number one was doing this podcast and getting this out. Again, it is actually my 5-year wedding anniversary today.
Oh, happy anniversary. Cool.
Right. And my 5-year anniversary today. I have a wonderful career, a wonderful child, and a wonderful life. And I want to enjoy it because life turmoil comes and goes. We should always enjoy every single day. And I'm tired of letting those demons haunt over me, right? Especially the mom thing. So one is just getting that out, sharing that. Sorry.
That's all right.
Another one I would say is I want to grow more as a human being so that I can save lives. I still want to save lives. I still want to help other people.
Yeah.
And be that in me or be that from being raised Jehovah's Witness, a combination that sparked the love. I do still just ultimately want to spread, like Santa. Can I be Santa? I want to be Santa.
Well, you know, the letters spread spell Satan.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do. So I actually have a necklace. This is it's a Buddha, and it's smiling Buddha or happy Buddha. Mm-hmm. But something with him is that he carries a sack. Our satchel, Joe's in a satchel, right? But he carries a sack, and he takes sorrows from children and grown-up, sadness from people. He lives in the streets, but he takes sadness, and he replaces it with joy. And I was drawn to that, and I thought, I still ultimately want to do that. I want to have a positive impact on others and, help other people realize that life can be really great.
Yeah, life is beautiful.
Especially after shunning.
Yes.
It can be okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a shit show. That's what they program us to think, that you're going to leave and life is just going to fall apart. And It does for some people. And
it does
life.
I mean, I don't know if you had trauma, if you had trauma. I mean, my boyfriend had to go through, I mean, I had seeing demons. I mean, complete mental breakdown, honestly.
Sure, of course.
Going through the reprogramming. My gosh.
Yeah.
Reconnecting things and figuring things. And it truly does break a person.
Oh, yes.
But it doesn't break us apart.
Right.
And
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know, you come through the other side and you've got all these lessons. I mean, the best lessons in life are learned through the hardest times, unfortunately. And, you know, we've all learned a lot. And I'm so happy to see that you've got this life that you love and, you know, have things you want to do. And
and I really hope that that's a part of it. And I think about politics, honestly, later, more gray hair. It does seem like if you want to be a strong leader and you do want to impact change, that is the avenue. So it's like, whoa, that is like so anti-Jehovah's Witness. I don't know. Maybe I could be mayor. I could do that. But really right now, work, impacting, trying to see people see their potential, grow, be the better version of themselves. Man, I just want to keep positive vibing to everybody. And getting more Christmas decorations. Holy cow. I want them all. I remember being like, they're satanic, don't look. And it's like, oh God, they're so pretty. So that is my thing, man. I'm a Christmas nut. I think the years of oppression, but totally every year I'm like, all right, $200 on the Christmas light budget to add for next year.
Yeah, that's more lights.
More.
Yeah.
Oh, and first Christmas, I don't know if you like the moments. Again, boyfriend at the time, but he got me just like a stack of presents. And I went and he did it just like a Christmas morning, right? Because I never had it ever. Oh God, weeping. Guilt over opening the presents. And then like, it's too much. I've only ever had like 3 my entire life. Please.
Yeah.
But a lot of great moments. A lot of great growth. It is really beautiful on the outside.
Yeah, life is what you make out of it. And
choose.
Yeah. You can choose to see things in different ways. And your perception impacts a lot of what happens and how you feel about it. So
well, and I thought and my big thing, my mantra after I lost my ability to pray for solutions, my mantra became choose. So every time I had a situation that brought uncomfort or except mom, right? Because
you can't control that. That's her choice.
But everything else, right? Yeah. It was that slow conquering of, okay, I'm going to choose to get rid of this. I'm going to choose to make this better.
Yeah. Right? I'll throw out something that I like to say, and that is, I've found it, and that's the phrase is acceptance is letting go of the hope that it could have been any different. And when you start looking back at things and you realize that even your mom right now who shuns you, she's doing what she thinks is right.
Yeah.
It's a bad choice.
Devout.
Yeah, it's a bad choice, but her intent is pure in her own heart. It couldn't have been any different. She's doing the best she can with the tools that she has. And that's not to say that it doesn't hurt. That's not to say that it's even necessarily okay. But when you can understand a thing, it takes some of the power away from it. And you can finally accept that this is just how it is. I think she's doing the right thing. It hurts a lot.
But that's okay. Because there's going to be a funeral or a hospital visit at some point, and we get to pretend it's all okay and I see you. So I did have that thought because we had that with my disfellowship family. Like, oh, wait, it's okay now? Like for an hour? What the hell is this? Very odd. And some are very all the way and aren't, whatever. So, and even at the end of the story, so I did get to see my mom and brother. It was at my papa's funeral. So this was recently. It had been 5 years there, right? And my brother hugged me and wept, and just told me how much he loved me. And honestly, the biggest thing I said, I know, I love you too, but I felt pity because I knew that he's not healing through this, is hurting him too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The shunning hurts both sides.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No.
And then my mother, being able to hug others and just not touch this person. Yeah.
Can I ask you? So I had my own experience with this that I'll relate, but let me ask you first. Are you happy that you went? Obviously, this was about your papa, but are you happy, or do you kind of wish on some level you hadn't? Because I found it traumatizing, re-traumatizing to go see my family and then not again. Like being shunned again.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, so I'm going to say I totally agree. It was awful.
Yeah.
It's like this is the two-edged sword. One side, it is awful. It is like reopening a wound and just stabbing it with swords. And then you're like trying to keep it together, and it's like a funeral for a loved one, but we're just going to gosh, it was the most painful thing to do. Actually, we were at the funeral site, and they were taking pictures, and it was for the whole family, and then just these, and so it was just my brother and my mom and I, and she put her arm on me, like for the photo, and it felt like someone took a hot fire coal and just shoved it through my heart. And where her hand touched me felt like a knife wound.
Yeah.
And all she did was put her arm on me. It hurt so much to feel it and to know you had to just go back again.
Mm-hmm.
But do I regret it? Absolutely not. Because ultimately, I realize now through all of this that I'm stronger than they are.
Yes.
My dad did always say, do the loving thing, and to pity those that don't know. My view of that's different now of what, right? I'm not pitying the same people, and I'm not sad about the same things. But ultimately my new take on it is, all right, bring on the next one, because I'm actually going to show you that much more that I'm okay.
Yeah, I understand. My dad died 6 months after we left, after we were shunned, and I was invited to come see him at hospice one last time. I did so because the last time that we had spoken, he screamed at me on the phone for loving the gays because I don't hate them. And I decided that I would go to hospice because I wanted a better last image than that. And I wanted to show what unconditional love was about.
Yeah.
And to be to be
bigger
that
person.
And so I went, and for me, my experience, it was all really awkward. Just in the room with my family. There were witnesses there. They all left when we arrived.
Yeah.
Be present if we were around. And although I got some closure there that I appreciate, and we sent it out on a better note, I won't go back into that situation again. For
really?
myself, I don't need to show them what love is. They're not going to see it anyway. They didn't. They didn't care, and it just ended up in the end making me, I didn't even realize it. At first I felt really good about it, and then later, I don't know, just having to walk out of hospice and just realizing that once I got in the car and turned the key and drove away, it was over again. I can't do that.
Yeah.
They can die by themselves.
Yeah. And we'll see how they feel in the next situation. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh man, it is its own thing.
Yeah, you don't know till you get there, but
yeah, you don't know till you get there. But man, I went to visit my mama who's in a nursing home, and my mother was there. I mean, and it's just like, oh God, just okay, knife wounds.
Yeah,
How do I do this? But that just shows we are also still growing.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Absolutely. And we are also normal human beings who are just feeling the loss of something that your average person takes.
Yeah. And you know what? I even had a moment and I was crying and I go, honey, I need to stop pretending that this is easy and all okay. Because actually this isn't.
Yeah, it sucks.
And death is easier because you can understand the finality and end it. I go, but John, this isn't easier.
Yeah.
This sucks.
It does.
But we keep moving, we keep making this and keep putting it out. And I guess one message I would say of what has helped me the most to transition, because right, you're transitioning through, is coworkers, students, the ones that became friends on the outside, taking an interest and being really empathetic of like, oh my God, you've lost everyone you know. Like, yeah. That support system. So for me, even to educate ones who don't know what it's like when someone says I'm shunned.
Yeah.
To help those know, like, you know what, if you're just friendly, it'll help. Just like, don't abuse. That's nice.
It's a pretty low bar, really.
Yeah, really low bar when you're shunned. Just want to know that you don't want us to die. Yeah. And we have value and worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for doing this. It's been really beautiful to get to know you. And
yes, absolutely. Any more questions? Are we good? Any more questions?
No. Is there anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get to? I don't think so. Well, I'm going to say one. And maybe this would be like an edited in story. I'm going to say one, especially because you mentioned the being pro-gay. So obviously Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They as an organization take the stance that is wrong, sinful, Bible to back it up. Yep. So I felt that very, very much my entire life. And I had an uncle that came out. I hated him because you hate all things God hates. Of course.
And he was detestable.
Mm-hmm.
We had been very close. And we're at a funeral, of course. He's there. And he says how much he misses us and would love to just get together. And he was not shunned. He'd never been baptized, but right, it's still disgusting.
Right.
And so I told him that I didn't associate with his kind. And it was just a short time later that he killed himself. He committed suicide.
Oh, gosh.
So I was a teenager and went to the funeral and his partner was there. And there's pictures of me with my uncle on the board. And he tells me, you must be Candace. He knew me. And he knew stories of me. And he hugged me and said, I want you to know that your uncle loved you so much. And he understood everything. Wept and wept and wept. And that is why I, too, am very much pro every right of every human. And that was another factor in my Jehovah's Witness story of I can't do this. And another reason why for me with Christianity or any that denounce homosexuality, sorry, I'm not there.
Well, and I think what I'd like to point out is that love, what they showed you was real love.
Yeah.
That is love that overcomes things instead of what Jehovah's Witnesses and a lot of, unfortunately, Christianity is about is control. It's about control, not love. When you control people, you don't love them. You're trying to make them a version of you.
And a version that you love and you accept, but not what is.
Right, but not what is. And I think that's where it gets down to.
Yeah.
What is I say at the end of every podcast, love others, do no harm, and go be happy. You know,
Yes.
that's,
Love others, do no harm, and be happy. I love it.
yeah. Cheers to that. Wish I had a Panda mug now.
Panda mug, yeah. So you need to get some of those. Mike, it has been such a pleasure. This was very cathartic for me.
I'm glad.
The others that hear your podcast, come out, talk about it, get it out. Stop letting it control you if it still is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heal from it, learn from it, and realize that I found that there are ones that, although not shunned, there are many in the world that have lost their parents or their friends from one way or another, dysfunction or whatnot. Others shunned in some other form.
Absolutely.
And we can all help heal one another together.
Absolutely. We're one big shun community.
Yeah. And
wherever
maybe
you come from.
And maybe change some minds about shunning. And encourage ones to just fix stuff instead.
Yeah.
Or not make up weird shunning rules, because that's
that would be a good start.
all right.
Well,